Aloha, wonderful family of light. Let's just start by taking some deep breaths. Centering into the heart space. Finding that place of love. I was thinking today, maybe I would do a part 4 to the Nephilim series because people, I guess, tended to like that. By the way, all of those were just spontaneous. First take is hit record and it came out. There's no, it's not written down anywhere. I didn't practice or rehearse anything. I didn't even actually know. Most of the time, I have no idea what I'm gonna do after I hit record, other than I'm gonna be talking, obviously. But I mean, I really don't know what all's gonna happen most of the time. I just follow that intuitive, co-creative process. But today, nah, we're not. We're not going into any of that. Today, we're just going to talk more about coping with everything that is seemingly happening. But I want to kind of remind you that there's really not a whole lot happening now that wasn't happening before. What has changed is your perspective about it. And what is changed and still changing is your perspective about yourself. See, in the age of Aquarius, you can't front change. You can't pretend. You can't lie to yourself. You can do all these things, but you're not going to be able to do them successfully. Even that's sort of an oxymoron. How do you, successfully lie to yourself? But yet you can. You can. You can be in denial. You can continue on doing that which is only harming you or harming others. And for self-deceit, that would be successful. But you're not going to be able to do that, excuse me, in the age of Aquarius. In the year of 2020 vision. And I would presume to say that whatever it is about yourself that you're not willing to see, others are going to see it for you. In other words, if you can't bring yourself to the place of being honest with yourself, then the people around you, through circumstances, are going to end up saying to you the very thing that you should have said to yourself. Having to do with honesty, having to do with being genuine. And this is the ego a lot of people thought that their ego was killed and I'm not sure that once created that the ego truly can be killed. Now, I'm not leaving any loopholes whatsoever for the ego to remain the self. The ego is not the self. It never was the self. And it only masquerades as the self. And you allow it. You allowed it. We allowed it. No blame, no guilt. We all got duped. They created our external reality in such a way that it was very easy to think that that's what we all are. That it's normal to conduct yourself as an ego, because everything in this external world, not everything, but most things, cater to that ego. So if you were going to be the one person to say, hey, the ego is not really who I am, and I don't want to be the ego anymore. I want to be my authentic, true self. Well, then you pretty much, it feels like you can't even live in this world then. Then you got to go somewhere else, my friend. You're not welcome here. Because this place revolves around ego. And this place believes that that's not only true about who we are, but that that's normal. And with this ignorant way of thinking and believing and becoming, it allowed all kinds of abuse to flourish. And in this abusive place where abuse flourishes and is promoted and is talked about as though it's normal, on and on and on, for so many lifetimes, and for sure all of this lifetime, we got lost as hell. Who's we? I'm talking about the authentic self now. Again, back to who you really are, back to who we really are. The soul got lost. The soul didn't get lost in and of itself. The soul got lost because the ego became the pseudo-self and told the soul to go deep into darkness and just hang out down there. Because we don't really need you here. You're not really wanted around here. So many people began to wake up to this. I say many people. People began to wake up to this. All throughout the ages. But as we've moved and, let us say, consciously evolved, and then we were in the age of Pisces not so long ago, moving towards the age of Aquarius. And now as we're making that transition into Aquarius, everything right now for, I would say, everybody, light workers included, everything just seems overwhelming and insane and surreal. And a lot of people, including myself, feel like we're dealing with depersonalization. Like we're having a depersonalization experience. But I would submit to you that it's merely the stark transition, not the stark transition, the stark difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday, in the age of Pisces, where one could see blindly, versus today, you can no longer see blindly. This energy won't allow that. The woke people won't allow that. The light workers won't allow that. The light itself won't allow that. So you can no longer stumble about in darkness, fronting with an external life where you're giving off the persona that you see, that you have understanding, that you know what life is about, that you know why you're here, that you know what's going on, that you have understanding of all these changes when you didn't and you don't. But you can. But you can. And how can you? How can it? How can we? By getting honest about it all. Admitting, yes, I was living as an ego. Yes, I bought into all the narratives of this place. I filled my vessel with beliefs that this realm gave me, sold me, indoctrinated me. And I became a stranger to myself. And when I had the fleeting thought of what is my purpose here, I had a quick, easy matrix answer. I'm going to make so much a year, and I'm going to live in such and such of a house, and I'm going to have security and happiness, and that is my purpose. See, you can't have true purpose if you're an ego, because the ego is selfish. The ego is cold-hearted. The ego has little empathy. The ego is narcissistic. The ego is weak and flaky. The ego says you need a drug to feel a certain way. If you want to feel a certain way, then you do a drug. So the ego has no idea how to manage its emotions. And it's really not trying to feel anything. It's trying to numb itself from feeling. Because the heart is sick. The heart is dying. The heart has been deactivated by the ego. The ego is your biggest abuser. The ego is your biggest deceiver. The ego has done every ignorant thing on your behalf. Every stupid ass thing that you got involved with, the ego led you into it. And see, if you were thinking, even unconsciously, because you weren't thinking that, oh, I am the ego self. Oh, I am this alternate version of myself that is utterly ignorant, but goes around in this realm as though it has knowledge, as though it has knowing of anything. Because again, this realm has been designed for that ego, because this realm was designed by egos. So it's perfectly at home in this egoic realm, and so it was very easy to not think and just be the ego, not thinking, not ever thinking that, oh my God, what if that's really not me? What if this persona, what if this whole thing that I've called my life and myself is really not me? You could have began to unravel it at any time. But again, this realm doesn't promote that. This realm shuts people up that would tell you this, that would give you this warning, that would shine light to a very narrow trail that led to a very enchanted, beautiful, wonderful place called your heart. And if you got on that trail, and you followed it to your heart. And you gave a little knock on the door. And you waited for someone to come to the door. And you thought, you were thinking, where am I? This is all so weird. This is all so strange. And then you heard the little window opening in the door. And you saw a face looking out the window of the door. And you're completely startled to see that it's your face. How in the hell can you be standing out here? How did you get outside of yourself? How did you forget that the real you was in your heart? And that this ego version that's standing outside of the door of your heart, utterly confused, and full of so many problems and insecurities and weaknesses and habits and tendencies and darkness. And to your amazement, the door is opening. The door is opening. So you took you by the hand and you invited you inside. Come on in. Let's just sit here together for a long time, my friend.